From the Dallas On Air studios in beautiful Dallas, Texas, this is Fulfillment here on DallasOnAir.com. And now here's your hosts, the Vegabomber PJ Dunn and the film samurai Carlos Salinas with special guest, Horror Mike. And now here's PJ.
Welcome, fans out there. I couldn't do the show without my left hand and right hand man here today, Carlos, the film samurai. Say hello to the people.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning.
And back by popular demand, and probably black by popular demand, it's Horror Mike back.
How's it going, guys? It's good to be back in.
So we're going to call this episode, and by the way, we're not going to forget the gentleman's big booming voice you heard at the beginning up top. That's K-Zach, also in the house.
Greetings and salutations, campers. Welcome to DallasOnAir.com.
So today, we're going to say hi to the bad guy. We're going to spend most of our time today talking about the top 5 villains. We got at least 4 different versions of a list that probably has some of your favorites on there. So we're going to check that out. But to get started, we're going to do our normal fare, and then we'll get there. So hang in and let's get going. So we'll strap on right off the bat and talk about the box office economics. And so right now, for you to know, as of these current dates here, which would be to the 16th. That's right. We got a wiki and a new sign up coming up for that. Number 1 right now in the box office is, no surprise to anyone, It 2. It's bringing in about 39.6 million right about now. Number 2 is Hustlers at 33.2. Did you? I don't think any of us have seen that one yet.
Hustler, you mean with Anne Hathaway and?
No, this is
no, I know.
this
J-Lo.
This is the true. Yeah, this is a true story. That's the best thing about it. The true story about the strippers at Scores.
There it is. And number 3 is not a true story. It's Angel Has Fallen, the 3rd installment of that whole Has Fallen thing. It's got 4.5 million, just edging out surprise comedy Good Boys at 4.2 million, and then rounding out that top 5 is a movie I did have to sit down and watch because fan pressure, peer pressure, and all that good stuff. The Lion King at 3.6 million. That's the top 5 right now as we go through the end of September, rolling into October. What do you guys think of that box office right now?
I guess It Chapter 2 deserves it, I guess.
Because there ain't Jack out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're supposed to be gearing up for Halloween, and there isn't Jack other than Ready or Not.
It's like Good Boys came out weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time just goes by so fast.
Comedies are just dead. Well, Dan Harmon was saying basically comedies are dead in film. It's all television now. So the fact that Good Boys is like an anomaly.
Yeah.
Getting that high up there.
Yeah.
Hustlers is a surprise because I'm hearing no one talk about it on social media. Nobody. But apparently everyone saw it and just walked right out the theater and never talked about it again. It looks like an interesting story. It didn't interest me enough to go see it. But it did interest me enough that I'm like, the moment this drops on Netflix or something, I'm gonna probably check it out. It didn't look like Angel Has Fallen and Lion King, I will probably never see as long as I live.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is I love the first one, Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good action movie, but I saw the second one and I was just like, wow, this is just so average. I don't care. So the only one that surprised me is Hustlers.
Generic.
Everything else is makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And this is supposed to be like horror season right about now because we're supposed to be getting, with Halloween coming up, the candy displays.
I noticed that too, and I think, they're waiting right to the wire because I saw a bunch announced, but they're like September 30th and like October 1st and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's weird, but maybe they're trying something new.
Yeah. So it looks like It 2 then is dominating, and that's what we have going on right now.
That's probably it, is that no one wanted to go up against that.
Yeah. That's true.
It opened up in the right time where there was literally nothing there. It's just like, hey, go watch this because everyone else has seen it. Everyone else is talking about it.
It warms
And yeah, as far as horror goes, you don't want to compete with the Juggernaut.
it warms the cackles of my heart that It is basically a step below Avengers, where it's just like, avoid it. Like, let's not really challenge it with any major movies because they realize like, holy crap, this is a major. Everyone saw that. That's what everyone to this. I'm still seeing memes and stuff about it. So
Yeah, I think people love the character of Pennywise. It's interesting. In Target the other day, I was just walking through the section with all the collectibles, and they actually have the Hollywood rides of the Camaro for the kid, Henry Bauer. It's that blue 77 Trans Am. But then the figure is Pennywise, which he's never ever in the car or anything. So I thought, wow, look at the pull of Pennywise here. They can make him a Hollywood rides car, even though he never has one. They just
he's a he was already a pop culture icon, and this his performance. Why am I blanking on
Skarsgård?
Skarsgård. I have problems with the story of the movie.
Yeah,
but you can't take away anything from Skarsgård. I think one of the big problems is there's not enough of just him. And I have kids coming to my store, the comic book shop, Keith's Comics, where they are like, "Whoa, it's Pennywise!" Like, "Whoa, it's so cool." We have a big 12-inch tall one.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
like 12 inches tall. It's really cool looking. So many kids are just like, "Whoa, it's cool! It's Pennywise!" So, yeah, you're not wrong. I think he's just Skarsgård, and then Tim Curry before him have done outstanding with that character.
Monster who eats kids.
Yeah,
surprising, right?
Kids, right? And kids go, "I love it. I sign up more for that." It's almost like all these kids going, "I love Mommy Dearest. I love coat hangers."
I heard like that. He's almost like a gay icon. You know?
Yeah.
The gays love him.
Yeah,
Darkest
amazing.
sketch.
That's amazing.
He gives him whenever he makes a dark joke, always a darkest sketch. But yeah, they. You're right. I think it's just especially young boys. Young boys love monsters. I mean, yeah.
Since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that will never change. Monsters and Cars, which we'll see some more car movies coming out a little later as well. So let's take a look now. For all you watching home, we're going to go to the picks of the week. So there are a few movies that did come out, and so picks of the week, we're going to do our little wiki. There it is. And this is that segment where we talk about at least 3 movies that are coming out here recently or have just come out just this weekend since we film on Sundays. And then we'll tell you which one we think we're probably more apt to go to the theater and see. So first, let me just go ahead and list the 3 films, and then I'll give you the specifics, and then we'll chop them up and see what's up. So Downton Abbey is one of the films. Rambo Last Blood is the other pick, and Ad Astra. So we'll look at Downton Abbey. So real fast, this is just a drama. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes. That may be too long, I don't know. Directed by Michael Engler. And the stars are people you probably haven't heard of unless you're British or from the UK. So this is Michelle Dockery, Matthew Good, and Tuppence. Somebody's first name is Tuppence. Tuppence Middleton. Almost sounds like that guy you'd put in a locker because he's one of those frat boy guys. It's like Biff and Tark. It's Tuppence. Tuppence. You're going to get your comeuppance, Tuppence. So we have to throw a rhyme in there, right? So this film, just the synopsis, if you're wondering about Downton Abbey, it's about the Crawley family and their servants who serve them. And what's happening is they get a visit from special royalty. It's like King George V and Queen Mary are coming. And the problem is, here's the drama for this, is that they're bringing their own people to serve and do the cooking. So now it's the people who already work there at the Downton Abbey feeling like they might be replaced by these other folks, and somehow
which ones are more
we'll never know which side the fork or the knife goes on when they play set for royalty, I guess. But that's Downton Abbey, and I think you could look at that if you want.
It was a TV series on PBS.
Yes.
They made this is just the movie version. They got the old cast back together.
Because it's supposed to be like the finale of the series, and I dipped out quick. I've watched one episode and I could tell it was of quality, but man, I didn't care. I am the opposite of its target demographic.
This is The Wire for intellectuals.
The Wire for intellectuals.
The snooty crowd.
I was like, is this a dressed up version of the Royal Tenenbaums or something?
I mean, the reason why you've got a 2-hour film is because it's got 20 different plot lines and 40 different characters.
Yeah, and that's great for people.
Surprised it wasn't 3 hours.
Yeah. I have something I call, and PJ and Carlos knows very well, I call it my Taylor Swift box. I think Taylor Swift is a very good singer-songwriter, but I'm the absolute opposite of her demographic. But I don't think she's bad or by any stretch. That's Downton Abbey for me.
Yeah.
I think it's a quality made show, and the movie looked interesting, but man, I'd be bored to tears if I tried to watch that.
I just want to hear someone say, "It was Mrs. Peacock with a candlestick in the library." That's all I want to hear.
Yeah, hashtag we are never getting together.
Let's look at movie number 2 in our choices, and this is Rambo: Last Blood. So maybe this should be the last one, hopefully, because they're on my last nerve with this Last Blood mess. So this is an action-adventure film. It's the shortest of the films we'll be looking at here. It's only an hour and 29 minutes, thank God. The director is Adrian Grunberg, and it stars Sylvester Stallone, who else? Paz Vega and Yvette Monorail. Yep. So what do you guys know about Rambo: Last Blood?
So I saw it this weekend.
Oh.
And now I am a bit of a Rambo fan, but I will also acknowledge he has kind of degraded as a character. He went from a very sad character with PTSD, dealing with basically showing what soldiers deal with that, which made him very interesting. And then he became just a basically stereotype action hero.
Yeah.
I rewatched the previous one from 2008 to get ready for this one, and that movie holds up. I would put that against
the
most
original.
movies. Yeah, not the one from just close to a decade ago now. The one that I think Stallone directed, I believe.
Okay.
But this one, it doesn't hold a candle to it. It's been getting railroaded review wise, and while I don't think it's anything great, it certainly isn't the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, man. I think this franchise is done.
No.
Yeah.
It's not relevant in the age of technology. Carlos, what did you think?
Yeah, I didn't. I was going to see it Friday, but then I said, do I really want to pay to see this?
You're like, I'd rather pay my phone bill than watch this movie.
I'll watch it eventually, but I decided to save my money on that one.
Yeah, and I think this is what this is going to come down to with movies nowadays, because you can go spend the $15 to $18 and then whatever else it costs for the popcorn and the candy and stuff, but it's got to really be something that you're willing to lay out that kind of cash for. I think otherwise we'll just wait 3 months and just watch things on streaming for cheaper. Right, I think that's what people are going to do. So I think they need to be thinking about that when they put stuff out like this, but we'll see. And then the third one here, which I would say is if I go early, is my pick for sure. But Ad Astra. So this is an adventure drama mystery film. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes, the same length of Downton Abbey, actually. And the director here is James Gray. And it's got the stars Brad Pitt, Liv Taylor, Ruth Negga, and Tommy Lee Jones and Donald Sutherland as some of the bigger names. And so Ad Astra, what do you know about this one, Carlos?
Sci-fi.
Yes.
It's, Brad Pitt. I did see it. I'll talk about it in
the next segment. Yeah.
So that would be my pick.
Awesome. Mike, what do you think?
I didn't get a chance to. I unfortunately made the Sophie's choice between Rambo: Last Blood and Ad Astra, and just my mild OCD. I was like, well, I want closure to this, so that's why I went and saw Rambo instead. This movie looks
they got you with the closure thing.
Because Ad Astra looked beautiful. I really want to see that, and I probably am still, just much later.
Now, Kazak has said many a times during this segment that he's a budget man. So I'm going to ask you, budget man, if you had to see any of these 3 movies, which one would it be?
If I had to see any of them, I mean, Ad Astra does nothing really to excite me, and I have not followed Downton Abbey at all, so I guess Rambo: Last Blood.
We went for Rambo.
Yeah, we put a knife to him, made him
You guys have warned me. It's just like, nah, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'll go watch 80-year-old Stallone, go on the search for his AARP card and get revenge.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what you get, folks, right there. So if you're on a budget and don't care, then it's Rambo. If you do want to see something that you care about,
I'll do my taxes.
I'm doing tax. See, that's bad. We have to think about our taxes rather than the movies. No, that makes sense though. So Ad Astra, this is actually I was wondering what the hell is an Ad Astra. So for those of you who are the nerds who want to go look up stuff, this is Latin for to the stars with adversity or with difficulty, with great difficulty. So I guess it's apropos. Great title. Only thing I've heard about the film so far is that it is a slow burn, which doesn't bother me because when you're talking about space movies, it should not be fast paced and cut quick and all that stuff. Because most of it is going to be a panoramic view in the first place and helping people get the sense of that. So that wouldn't bother me. And Ad Astra will be the film I will see since I didn't get a chance to get out. So that's our picks of the week. Sounds like we're mostly saying Ad Astra, and then of course might say Rambo just because.
Yeah, because closure. They got me with the nostalgia.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that. In fact, we're going to have a show talking about folks who have to go see a movie even though it sucks, but because they have to have closure. That's actually a thing, right? There's collectors. Y'all know, right? There's a collector that they have to have all the Star Wars movies even if they hated Last Jedi and stuff like that, right?
100% right.
Guilty.
So I don't know the psychology behind why they have to complete, but we will probably talk about that at some
They've
point.
been traumatized by the Ewok movies.
Right?
Or the holiday special.
No, there's no
I've got a
excuse for
bootleg copy of the holiday special.
That's it, bootleg.
So
That's right. Without the subtitles. All right. So for everyone out there, let's move now to segment 2. We're talking about movies we've just seen or TV series. And I'm going to start with you, as I always do with Carlos. So, Carlos, what have you just seen?
All right. First one I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
3 from Hell.
3 from Hell.
Rob Zombie.
Oh, so we're talking
Saw
about
it-
horror.
This was that Fathom Events deal where it was only for 3 nights. So I saw it on Monday night.
Okay.
And Monday they gave away a poster. Second night they were giving away some like extras. I think that you could download and watch all the how they made it. Third night they were double featuring it with The Devil's Rejects and 3 from Hell. So 3 from Hell is a sequel to Devil's Rejects. I guess it would be a trilogy now since House of a Thousand Corpses was the first one with the same characters, Captain Spaulding and Baby and the other one.
the Firefly Clan.
Firefly family, the clan, yeah. This one picks up, 3 from Hell picks up where Devil's Rejects left off. I won't spoil it, but I mean, obviously, if you saw Devil's Rejects, they look like they got blown away, right? Like cops shot them up, but they survived. And so
Shocker.
it picks up and it's more mayhem. It's more Rob Zombie, grindhouse, over-the-top violence. It's gory. It's disgusting. It's crude, sick. And then they go to Mexico.
And then they go to Mexico.
Then they go to Mexico and go up against a Mexican gang who wear luchador masks, and it's that Mexican guy from Sons of Anarchy. I can't remember.
Danny Trejo.
The lead, no. Well, yeah, Danny Trejo's in it, but the leader of the Mexican gang.
Nacho Libre.
Danny Trejo.
I like you guessed it. It was correct.
Actually, isn't Trejo in the movie again?
He's in it, but
he's one of the bounty hunters. That's
but
right.
he's not the guy. He was a prisoner. He actually plays a prisoner in the movie. But it's the leader of the Mayans. I don't know the actor's name. Anyway, he's the leader of the Mexican gang in this one. So yeah, it's baby Sherry Moon Zombie. I think she's a star of the movie. She has some great moments in it. Of course, she's insane, psychotic, sociopath, everything. All 3 of them are, and I loved it. I mean, it's Rob Zombie. I love his movies.
Yeah, 2 things about this one. You got to remember that Sid Haig isn't in this one a whole lot.
He is
because
but,
of
yeah,
failing health.
It spoiled
Really?
to tell you what happens to him.
Yeah.
But obviously in real life he had died of cancer recently.
I
No,
didn't
he's
know
still
that.
alive.
Oh, he's still alive.
He's still
Okay.
alive.
Wow.
He
I
had
thought
a
he had passed away.
he had a recent scare, but was sent to the ER, but is recovered.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
it's
looking
a
at the
flesh
end of
wound.
the movie in loving memory of our friend Sid Haig. I thought, well, they didn't do that.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Well, okay, he's still alive.
right. The second thing is that this is the type of release that the theaters have got to worry about because it's getting a limited release.
Yeah.
And then they're going to send it straight to Blu-ray. Like
Oh yeah,
like
it's
it
coming
is
out
go-
on Blu-ray next month.
Yeah, so it is
Really?
Yeah.
It is going to turn around real quick. You're going to
Yeah, I
get,
wanna-
I think, like 2 more showings. I know the Texas Theater, I think, has got it on the 7th, and I think we're getting 1 more Fathom showing on the 14th.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you've got a couple opportunities. But yeah, this is the type of release they're going to have to start worrying about because it's going to go right to digital and then straight to your streaming services.
I
Wow.
think that's like a double-edged sword. 'Cause I like that you don't have to wait too long, but it also means like these movies don't get play in theaters and they don't make as much money. Potentially, don't make as much money.
The hardcore fans will go see them, and when I saw it, theater was packed, And from what I heard in other cities, the second and third nights were sold out. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it was worth it. The other movie I saw was Ad Astra. Saw it yesterday afternoon. I went to the Look Theater because I wanted to watch it on their Dolby Atmos screen. Huge screen.
Great plan.
It's almost as good as IMAX to me because the sound is so much better.
Seats are good too.
And so I mean, I was basically all the way back, just practically lying down watching it. And I had a great lunch beforehand. Ad Astra was fantastic. I mean, it blew me away. The opening scene, like you said, it's very, it's the screen is so wide, and then they take advantage of it. It's shot by Hoyt van Hoytema, who shot Dunkirk. Beautiful cinematography. Oh my God. It's very futuristic. The details they put in, it's the near future. There's been missions to Neptune and Mars and so forth. They have a base on Mars. And it's basically almost a father and son, Hearts of Darkness type story where Tommy Lee Jones' character, McBride's father, Brad Pitt's character, he went to Saturn, and he was experimenting with antimatter. The mission was to try to discover life on other worlds. And something was happening there that was causing electrical interference back at home, and it was potentially going to be devastating. So they wanted to send Brad Pitt there to try to get a message to him to contact, because he cut off. Brad Pitt assumed he was dead. His father had died. So it's a lot of point of view of it's Brad Pitt's character. There's a voiceover in it. Some people, for some reason, didn't like the voiceover. I don't know what the problem with people and voiceovers. Like the Blade Runner version with voiceover, they didn't like it. I didn't mind it. It kind of gives you a little more insight to the character. But as I said, it's slow burn, but there is moments in there that are exciting and nerve-wracking to watch. They do a kind of a side rescue mission, and it kind of,
You mean like they went to Cantobite?
Yeah, right?
No, not that
The best
bad.
part of the franchise.
No, I won't ruin it, but yeah, it's amazing. And to me, it wasn't slow at all for me. I mean, I was just enthralled from beginning to end with the whole movie. I love the story. It was a pretty simple story, and nothing really complicated about it. I love there's a lot of themes in it. And like I said, I don't want to spoil it with
with
details, but I was just like, I loved it. I think it's going to probably be one of my top 10 films of the year.
Wow, that's high praise.
But Brad Pitt is great. I wouldn't be surprised if he got nominated for Academy Award for it.
Super nice.
He is
Director James Gray did a great job. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Lost City of Z. That was another movie that kind of a father and son almost adventure explorers. But it was like it's a period movie. But James Gray, there's only one movie of his that I didn't like. It was The Immigrant. I was very bored by it.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for me. But a lot of people love that movie. But otherwise, his movies are all great movies.
Is there anything else that you saw? Or are you just going to...
That was pretty much it.
Okay.
As far as theaters.
That's good.
I saw a bunch of movies on Netflix and stuff. But nothing really to talk about.
All right, Horror Mike then.
For me, of course, Rambo: Last Blood, which a lot of it was just like I want to finish the story. I think this is a movie. Speaking of top 10 list, will not be on anyone's top 10 list. The tragedy, I think, is
Top 10 worst movies, maybe.
I don't even think it's bad enough to make a top 10 worse.
Really?
It's just this is what I was talking.
It's so mediocre at being mediocre.
Forgettable.
Exactly. It's
A Rambo movie bored you.
Yeah, which is wow. That sounds crazy because I feel a lot of it's been getting ripped apart in this reviews, and a part of me, I think a lot of those reviews have been uncharitable.
Yeah.
But because I don't think it's that bad, but it certainly is nowhere near the other films. This is probably the weakest, but it's certainly not a bad movie. I don't think it's terrible. I can see the technical aspects well done. I can see the story. The story's there. It doesn't get it. I think I'm not skilled enough to figure out what they did wrong, but I am skilled enough to know it's like something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Would it have been an okay movie if it wasn't a Rambo film?
No, because I think it's the only reason this movie even works is simply because it's conclusion of this character story.
Yeah.
See, I heard the opposite. Somebody said anybody could have played. It could have been any character.
Yeah.
It didn't even need to be Rambo because the Rambo character is
My
just kind
apologies.
of.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding this question correctly, because you're not wrong, that's a problem I have with the movie. It is an interchangeable character,
Yep.
but I think the reason I attached more to it, and the reason, cause I know how Rambo is, I know his character. I'm like, okay, now I can see him more or less doing these, and I want to see how does he conclude his saga, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I agree that's a problem I have with this particular story.
Yeah.
If as an addendum to the Rambo story, I think it's okay. But the problem with the film standalone is it's interchangeable with anyone. This movie is the first half is Taken. It's the first half Taken.
Right.
The second half is.
Of course it
Who
is.
you are. I think you know. I'm a very special set of skills. One of them is not speaking clearly.
By the way, you joke. You joke. He has a speech like that.
I know it. Of course it is.
He basically gets a hold of someone and tells them exactly. Like, this is what I said.
Yeah, of course. See, that's ridiculous.
It's Taken and Home Alone. The problem I had with the movie is, and this is coming from someone who
Taken
loves,
and Home Alone. Did I hear that right?
you Taken and Home Alone.
Taken and Home Alone, ladies and gentlemen.
it's-
You can't write this unless you're Sylvester Stallone, I guess.
It's because you can't have Sylvester Stallone's like 80 years old now. He
The
can't get
hell?
in there and fight.
He's
and
80.
He can't be 80, but I don't know.
He could be.
He could be.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think
So,
he's in his 70s. at
They
least.
circumvent
Yes.
this by him mostly using
Probably
weapons
70.
and traps.
Yeah.
And while I'm a big Home Alone fan, I love the ingenuity of these traps, but it's insanity. I was just like, well, it's not insanity. It's not insanity. But I was just like,
Does he really like blow a guy's head off and then shoots him in the chest?
indeed he does. It's so again, I'm a horror movie fan, and even I was like, this is gruesome. Like this is really like I don't think I'm old enough to see
Lower
this.
the top.
Die!
It gets to those
Oh my
points.
gosh.
So
crazy.
while I do believe some of the reviews have been uncharitable to the film, I don't think it's nowhere near. Not even. It will never be in anyone's top 10. But I don't think it's gonna get a Razzie or anything. It's not that bad. It's just forgettable.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
You'll see. The other thing I saw was Yellowstone.
First season.
I'm on the finished the first episode and halfway through the second.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love it. Some of the best writing. There are some lines I absolutely love. It's just Taylor Sheridan
Yep.
just keeps proving that he's one of the best writers working in the industry.
Yep.
And I adored it. The only thing I didn't get, and Carlos was very kind enough to explain to me, was I don't understand land law. Cattle law.
Sure.
And land. Because there's this isn't a major spoiler. Some of Kevin Costner's characters, cattle, goes over to a reservation and they just get the cattle. And I was like, is that state just work that way? Where it's just like, I was like, if my dog wanders into my neighbor's lawn, does he like, this is my dog now? It just like walks off. He very explained to me, oh no, that's reservation. With the exception of me not understanding that law, everything else I got perfectly. It was it's a very good show.
And you just seen the first episode. Wait till
First
you see
episode
the rest of it as they start to tease the rest of it out. Yeah.
Yeah, their characters, I was like shocked. Major deaths here and there. I was like, and to their credit, they play it up like they don't hint at it all. It just is sudden. We'll see. I do have a low tolerance for watching dirtbag characters, but there are obvious exceptions because I'm a huge.
Well, you just watched Rambo. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say he's a Vietnam vet. He didn't ask for the. He didn't.
You know what Vietnam vets suffer from the most?
Yeah,
PTSD.
PTSD,
You
yeah.
know who the biggest dirtbags are?
Yeah, fair enough.
They have some sort of mental disorder.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, for example,
Being sensitive, PJ.
yeah, right. I will say my biggest.
Try the guy without the head.
Yeah, right. Ask him.
He still gets shot in the chest. Wait a minute, dude, I'm dead. My head is over there and you're still shooting me in the chest? No, that's practically normal.
Well, like here's a good example of what I mean. It's like
Sociopath, man.
the show Jessica Jones is a legitimately pretty solid show, but she is just an unrepentant jerk the whole way.
Yeah.
I have a low tolerance for that. The world's already filled with jerks. I don't need to watch my entertainment. Same with like TV show House. He was just an awful
Sure.
person, and even though the show was excellent,
Yep.
I couldn't stand watching him.
Yep.
This borders on that, but like I said, the obvious
Nah.
exceptions on this is
Nah.
like Breaking Bad. I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan, and of the show, he gets worse and worse. In this show, he is nowhere near as bad as or as annoying as Jessica Jones or
No.
Walter White.
Well, this is like The Godfather, bro.
Agreed,
I mean,
100%.
if you-
So that's why I'm saying
it's like gangster movies. They're always
exactly. And I have a low tolerance for gangster movies. Like, it just depends on the movie.
Yeah.
It's a personal preference. It will never affect. I know that about me, so I'll never incorporate that into my judgment of a show.
Sure.
But I absolutely love this.
Well, wait till you see how it plays out.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great show.
There's so many great characters, character building, world building. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so good.
And it's so close to the reality of it. It's just like how with The Sopranos, that's what a lot of mobsters would do. They would be in waste management and weird things like that, and they had a little shy off the people who were living in the neighborhood that they would go in and get, I mean, the reality of how they shot this and then how it was written, it was good. It was almost as if someone said, hey, we want to remake The Godfather. And someone said, no, don't do it with Italian and don't make it gangster. Why don't we do something different? Let's take it to Montana.
Yep.
Why would we do Montana? Let me show you.
Yeah,
And that's why you're getting a completely different story with different setups, but plenty of reasons for people to be villains.
Yep.
Because you're talking about fighting over land, which we've been doing for centuries.
Yep.
So this is a
Greed.
modern
Comes down to,
version
like,
of it.
greed.
Absolutely. So that's great. Awesome.
Family.
Was there anything else?
Only other thing I watched, I'm a big fan of Matt Groening, who creator of Simpsons
Yep.
Futurama. So I watched the beginning to watch the second season or part 2. Netflix has a weird season nomer. Disenchantment, which is the new Matt Groening show. Absolutely love that. Like I said, I'm a big Simpsons fan, big Futurama.
Okay.
This show's pretty good, so I enjoy it. Maybe not for everybody, but it's kind of a parody on the fantasy genre, like Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff. Good. I've been watching, so I'm about like 3 episodes into that.
It's a really clever show.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest show, but it definitely has moments, and it does fill that void if you're missing Futurama or miss what The Simpsons used to be.
Yeah, you
That's
hit it on
good.
the head. Like, it's hard for me to recommend it just to everyone, but it's a solid show. Like, no one can watch it and say it's not bad. Unlike Yellowstone, it's like that's an outstanding show.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so KZak, what about you? Did you see anything in the theater or perhaps?
Let's see. Well, because I'm a year behind the times, and I am a budget guy.
That's right.
I saw 2018's Halloween. Took that in. Thought it was a pretty fantastic horror film. You've got solid kills. You've got 3 solid heroines in this one. You've got a really decent cast. And the writing was solid underneath it. It goes back to formula. It doesn't take Mike Myers to a weird place. It just basically is what it is. Michael Myers killing people, and that it was absolutely perfect. No.
There you go.
The second thing that I saw, because I do watch television still. This is the final season of Preacher.
Oh,
The thing about this show is that the more out there it goes, the better it gets.
interesting.
It's not because they have to compress so much of the comic book in there. You get to see little bits and pieces, but honestly, it's just one of the most entertaining shows I've seen on television in a long time. And again, the more out there it goes, the crazier it gets, the farther it goes afield, the better the show gets. If you're a fan of the comic, you really can get behind the show.
and as a fan,
That's awesome.
Preacher is one of my favorite comic books, and I watched the first. This is the 4th season, so I watched the first 2 seasons. Just dipped out, not because of anything the show did, just time. I agree 100%. That the acting, that show was very good.
Everyone on the show is excellent.
Yeah, I absolutely adore it. So yeah, I agree. I remember hearing on the back of comic books they've been promoting final season of Preacher, and I guess I just forgot about it until you just mentioned it.
Yeah,
so.
and it is a show that is absolutely going for broke in its last season.
That's awesome.
I promise you, it does not disappoint.
That's great. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, we need to get to the segment 3, which is what everybody's waiting for. That's right. As we build this is the Say Hi to the Bad Guy episode, and we're going to talk about now our top 5 villains of pretty much mostly cinematic history. But if someone wants to throw in something from a TV show, we'll allow it. But basically, we want to talk about these people that when you were sitting down and focused for that 2 hours, that this person either made you so angry that you wanted to reach out and slap them through the screen, or they made you so scared, or they put you in such a state that you froze even though you're not in the movie. This, my friends, is what good villains do. And sometimes they're not the most imposing person. It's just the fact that they will have the gall to go to a place where normal people wouldn't, and they're dead serious about it. And then there's consequences. So we'll start out like this. We've got the 4 of us here today, so you're going to get a nice, good list. Probably, if you put all of our lists together, you probably got the most powerful top 25 right there, or top 20 right there. So I'm going to start with the Film Samurai.
All right.
All right, top 5.
Okay, I'll go from 5 to 1. So
Perfect.
My number 5. This character is so mean. He doesn't even have a name in the movie. He goes. I looked him up on IMDb. It goes by Longhair, but it's Bruce Dern, the character in the movie The Cowboys with John Wayne. And this movie was about John Wayne, who was trying to get some guys to move some cattle from one ranch to another, but he couldn't find real good cowboys to do it. So he had to use a bunch of kids, like 12, 13-year-old kids. The oldest was probably like 15. And then they run into some cattle rustlers led by Bruce Dern. And oh my God. I mean, this movie's pretty old. I mean, it's like 71, 72 maybe.
Okay.
But this is the first time that John Wayne was killed on screen. And it was Bruce Dern shot him. He terrorized the kids. I saw it as a kid, and his character scared the shit out of me. But yeah, Bruce Dern and the Cowboys, and I never looked at Bruce Dern the same way again. He plays more effective villains than he does regular guys. So number 4, Commodus, Gladiator.
Yes.
Love Commodus. He's so evil. He murders his father, murders the Spaniard's wife and kid in the most horrific way. He's incestual and just everything about him, but he's just so amazing to watch on screen, especially the gladiator scenes when he's overlooking, the arena. So that was my number 4. Number 3, I went with Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, one of the most evil, insane, cold-blooded villains ever in a film.
I think you changed it up on me.
And just, his hairdo, just something weird about that guy, just like, my number 2 was Annie Wilkes from Misery, played brilliantly by Kathy Bates. One of the most terrifying villains based on the Stephen King novel. Oh man, that hobbling scene, you never forget it once you see that movie. And then my number 1, this is probably my most frightening character, because you can imagine somebody is really like this, is Frank Booth from Blue Velvet, played by Dennis Hopper. This is a guy who's just a sicko, he's always has that gas mask, and you can tell he's a rapist and just a mean, vicious animal. That was my number 1, Frank Booth.
Played to the hilt by Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
David Lynch just saying, no, give me more, give me more, give me more. While I hate David Lynch, I love that character, man.
Yeah.
That's it. That's sweet. How about you, Horror Mike? Your top 5 villains of all time.
Yeah, so 5 to 1. These are actually some would be my favorite. All right, so my number 5, and boy, I really thought about this list. There's so many great, truly great villains.
Yes.
Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds. I'm a big fan of Christoph Waltz. Like almost everything he's been in, I've loved. He's been in bad movies, but he's been the best part of bad movies. I'm a big fan of villains that are tit for tat, that are I one up you, you one up me, I outsmart you, you outsmart me, and that's a lot of my list. Christoph Waltz is constantly one upping the team. Really good villain. Number 4 is T-1000. That's Robert Patrick in Terminator 2. I love it. He is, even as for a machine, it's the same thing. T-800's outthinking him. He's just an unstoppable killing machine.
Single-minded.
And it's very single-minded, but he's also smart. He thinks about things. Like, the iconic scene I love is when he calls his parents, and he's pretending to be his parents. And he's like, what's your dog's name? Fluffy? He's like, how is Rover? He's like, Rover's fine. And he, like, T-800 closes. He says, your parents are dead. And it's just outsmarting each other.
And they pull back and he has that knife.
Yeah, he's like already killed him. It's like, oh, wow, this is awesome. So my number 3, Hans Gruber, Die Hard. Oh, like I said, this it's a chess game with essentially, and this is the reason that a lot of people don't realize, Bruce Willis' character gets lucky. He they are both tit for tat like the whole movie, and he just gets one tiny advantage and has to take it. I love that. Like it could have just as easily been in Hans Gruber's favor. Love Hans. My number 2 are the Xenomorphs from the Alien franchise. These are not thoughtful villains, and they're not even really villains. They're animals, and that's kind of what I like about them. It's really just they're just trying to survive. Like they would have just been doing their own thing, and we messed with them. I really do enjoy that. My number 1 is probably one of the most iconic villains of all time, Darth Vader. The main reason I pick him, and this is the reason why I love Luke Skywalker as a hero, is because of all of my list, and most villains I see on most lists, he's one of the few villains to get redeemed. To truly get redeemed. Not just like, I changed my mind out of nowhere. It's like you truly see his story, he gets redeemed. That's why I like Luke, is because he redeemed what was considered the unredeemable.
That's good.
That Lucas made a lot of mistakes in his career, but the story of Vader, the story of Anakin Skywalker on paper is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why Darth Vader is my number 1, because he's one of the few that get actually redeemed.
Love it. Love it. K-Zach, how about you, sir?
All right. My number 5.
Yes.
This one not so far off the field, but because I love his presence on screen, it's Clarence Boddicker, Kurtwood Smith from RoboCop.
Yeah.
He is he's absolutely one-liners, vicious all the way down.
It's true.
He is just mean.
Yes.
Spits on the cop's face even when he's beat. The man is terrifying and he's terrible, but he's really funny at the same time.
Great pick.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the guy who can come up with a quick quip. So
Yes.
number 4, you said we could go television on this one, so I chose Tim Curry's Pennywise.
Okay.
The thing about this is that I learned recently that the reason why he has such simple makeup is because he did such heavy makeup and prosthetics for Legend that he never wanted to do it again. So his presence on screen throughout that whole miniseries, even as trashy as it is, he's really impressive.
Yeah.
With just his facial expressions, the voice.
That was one movie that actually gave me nightmare.
It's really terrifying. He scared a whole generation into coulrophobia.
Yep. Tim Curry's one of those actors.
Yeah.
Man. He's great in everything.
Yeah.
Even in bad. And he's been in really bad movies, but he's always great.
Yep. Number 3, of course, being a sci-fi Star Wars fan, I too put Vader on this list.
Absolutely.
He's iconic. He's a great presence on screen. The voice of James Earl Jones, the body of David Prowse, and of course, if you're a Vader fan, you'll never forget watching Rogue One and seeing the only lightsaber fight on screen and him just slaughtering. And it's a perfectly toned. It's a perfectly toned moment. Right?
Yes.
Number 2, again, you said we could choose television, so I went the Joker Mark Hamill in the Batman the Animated Series.
That's a good choice.
I would have never bought Hamill as a villain, but until I heard him do the Joker, and he really is the perfect foil to Conroy's Batman, and just hearing the voice, it's over the top. It's a really well-crafted version of the Joker. I know this being the weekend of International Batman Day, like I said, it's great to remember, like I said, a really great interpretation of the Joker.
Yes.
And my number 1, because like I said, I like films with the smartest guy in the room. Number 1, Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
Absolutely. Anthony Hopkins is terrifying in the film, but he's also, you really almost side with him in the film. It really is kind of a slow mental seduction into evil, because he really is such an impressive and terrifying character.
Yes.
And he really is almost always the smartest guy in the room, and that's what makes him terrifying.
Hello, Clarice.
Precisely. I deliver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Damn! I mean, it's an Academy Award-winning performance, and horror movies never get the Academy Awards. And Anthony Hopkins absolutely nails horror.
Yes.
And that was the most impressive thing about it.
Yes, I will say yes, and yes again. I think that's great. Let me give you my top 5 as well. And so I start with going 5-1. I actually started with Hans Gruber. And one of my favorite lines is when he said, Mr. Nayaki won't be joining us tonight or for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he was also smart. They saw that he was barefoot, and so they were shooting the glass because they knew that. I'm like, yes, that's what you would do. And so in a very limited role and just kind of coming in, and it was kind of like it was more about Bruce Willis and all that sort of thing. But he was a pleasant surprise to that
he
movie.
uses American accent to talk to.
Alan Rickman,
Because he's like, he doesn't know what I look like.
Yes.
So genius. I like that. Underrated, best Christmas movie ever.
And then at number 4.
It's not a Christmas movie.
That's right.
I wouldn't use that.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that either. So number 4, I would say I have Darth Vader here because once again, when you think about the idea that the first time you ever even see him on the screen, he emerges from the fog, and it's like the fog of your imagination, and he just shows up, and he's completely in control. He's telling everybody what to do, where to go, what to get, and then as soon as he realizes that there was been a jettison of the plans, he's just like, they must have, and he already figured it out and sent them out to go look for this. But the idea that he would just choke you with just his mind right then and there, or he could do it with literally. Just the command that he had. And then later on, again, I love the choking. There's something about the choking in this thing. And then later on, when they're like, you're foolish, religion is ours. And he just said, it took no time. It wasn't like he needed it. He was just like, okay, this fool needs to get choked. And so he just went right for it. But
Is
then
Darth
again,
Vader going to have to choke a bitch?
yeah, is that right? Is Tom Brady going to? So it's like, and then like when you see him, I like that Darth Vader, even though he was redeemed later, Darth Vader was never a punk, right? Whenever he was determined to do something, he set out to do exactly that. And just the way the way he walked into the room, even other villains in the room had to go, okay, now I can't talk too crazy to him because if he gets mad enough, he might just choke me with his mind. Yep. So I think
even hearing like he was coming to the space station.
Yes.
Oh, he's coming. Oh, shit.
And the way he described the Emperor when he said, oh, well, the Emperor's not as forgiving as I am. When he would tell them that they need to hurry up and push up the production schedule on what was going on with the Death Star. And so I'm just like perfect lines. And then, of course, like what you guys had already said about him, the fact that he could actually be in a place where he considers that it was more evil for someone else to kill his son than for him to kill his son, and he stops it. I think that's just a huge
such a great character
arc with that. And number 3, getting my top 3 here, I had to go with some probably not on anyone's list, but probably could be in your honorable mentions easily, and that's Nurse Ratched. This is Louise Fletcher. She wins an Academy Award here. Actually, this film, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, wins 5 Academy Award films. And so here is this film that comes out in 1975 that was set in the 40s, and it was talking about how we treat people who are mentally ill. You know, people just want to put them off in a place and just let somebody else deal with them. And then how other people would want to, maybe because they're coming back from war and have some PTSD, some people, this was an easy way to just say, well, since I don't have anywhere to work, I can just go in there and maybe get free hots in a cot and just be out of it for a while or something. And you had women who also couldn't sometimes make it, that would want to go to, this was a place you could go and you could not have to worry about having to pay bills and all these other things. So just the way they treat it. But Nurse Ratched, okay, I mean, just her face. And she wasn't imposing at all. In fact, she's a beautiful actress. You know, Louise Fletcher is very beautiful. So for her to just sit there, and she gave the coldest shark eyes, flat face, resting, what was it called? Resting bitch face? Yeah. Everything she said, to the T, to the point, and she made those guys grovel, who were already short of, you know, a few cards at their deck. So when you go back and look at that, I think people need to go back and look at that film. If you look at it, you'll see why it won 5 Academy Awards.
Yeah,
so
she's the absolute authority figure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so when she made that man grovel, said, I'll tell your mother, and then he ends up getting on his knees, and then when they carry him off, and she's just looking at him like, Okay, so what else we got next? You know, she's nothing. So I love Nurse Ratched. Number 2, best her is these last 2 folks, and this is Anton Sugar. I love this. That coin flip scene is ridiculous to me. Yeah. I love the fact that he could just walk in, and this guy doesn't know how lucky he is. I like how in the frame, what you have are fan belt loops hanging behind him, but they look like nooses. And
I didn't catch
And as
that.
I was watching this, I was like, is he going to grab one of those and choke this dude? That's what I was originally thinking. But the idea that he just pulled out a coin, like Two-Face, I guess, but this is much scarier than in Batman, I think. Yeah. And he flips that coin and he tells him to pick. And the guy is just, who doesn't get credit in this scene is the gentleman, Gene Jones, who plays the other guy on Side the Counter, the older guy. Yeah. It's his fear and
Great
uncomfortableness that makes it even weirder when you watch, you know, Anthony Barnum just play that mental mind game.
We're going to be closing up, sir. Like, he wants to get him out of there because he's scared. He knows something's off with this guy.
He has just an aura. I agree. He that's such a great. He's so just amazing. I love that. Yeah.
He gets hit in a car wreck, and he just asks the kid for a shirt and gives the kid money.
Yep.
And the kid's like, "Mister, you got an arm sticking out, Mister." And he's like, "Did you see me?" Because he would say that to people. Because if you've seen him and you could finger him, he has to take you out.
And that's why I love that scene. Even though it's at the end, like I love that scene because you're on. Every time he starts into his little bit, you're on pins and needles. Because then when he says to that kid, you're like, if that kid answers wrong, he's done. Yeah. And you know very well he'll take him out. Yeah. I love that. I agree 100%. And he would have been on my honorable. But I agree. There's so many great villains. He's definitely on that list.
Yeah, if you want to just dread, because and the thing is, he is big and he is imposing, but he doesn't have to yell. It's just like he just has to talk to you, and you can see something in his head that says, "Okay, this one is all right. He's going to get a chance to live."
Even that scene with Woody Harrelson, when Woody Harrelson he surprises him in the hotel.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson, once he sees him, he knows he's fucked.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh shit." And he tells him, "You don't have to do this." People always say that you don't have to do this. It's just like, he just takes that knife, just pokes him with it, just verbally, psychologically.
Yeah, and that look on his face when he tells that guy, "Save that quarter and don't put it in with the other quarters." Well, where do you want me to put it? Just don't put it with the other quarters, or else you'll mix it in and it'll be ordinary, which it is. You're just like, dang.
Such a great movie.
Pins and needles. And by the way, real quick, and before I get to number 1, and then, by the way, the reason why Nurse Ratched works so well, and this is why the movies today, in my opinion, hard suck, is because in that movie, if you watch it, go back and watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Notice there's silence. It doesn't have a bunch of junk going on in the background. It's the silence, and that silence makes the scene tense. Because she's staring down the guy, and the guy is staring back at her, and they don't fill it up with a bunch of noise or background music or ding, 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 anything ratcheting up. It's just her deadpan face back to this guy begging for her not to go tell his mother about it. Mm-hmm. Silence was used well. I wish they'd get back to some of that because that's great.
Movies, it's like everything has to be. Yeah, I agree.
Everything has to be so moving so quickly. So, and then last, number 1, and it wasn't on anyone's list, but maybe an honorable mention, is the Joker's. I would say Heath Ledger's Joker, because here's the thing with this film, you're following up Batman Begins, which was already a great film. All right, it had those horror elements in it, which the Scarecrow with the wonderful vision for Batman. And then you turn around, and what do you have here? You have a villain that outsteals every scene that he's in, and the one-liners that Joker has in everything. He'll walk up on a bunch of dudes who are gangsters or murderers and still say, "Want to see a trick?" And then he puts that pencil down and boom. And then he asks him, he says, "What happened?"
My jokes were bad.
They're looking at him like, "Well, if it's so easy, why haven't you killed the Batman? Because if you're good at anything, you should never do it for free." And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. A villain who's smart and maniacal, and even the bad guys.
And even when he gets the money, he burns the money, right? Yeah. With the dude on top of it.
Gotham deserves a better criminal than this. Even
gasoline and gunpowder.
The line that stuck with me the most, there's so many great ones. The one that stuck me the most is when he's walking out, and they're like, "You think we're just going to let you walk out of here?" Yes. It's very simple.
Yeah, he was showing him.
Yeah, I got these. He's so great. And something I don't hear as many people say, he's just a reverse of Batman. Whereas Batman, If you look from a criminal's point of view, no, Batman is just some crazy guy just beating them up and putting them in jail for no reason. From an innocent, normal, air quotes, normal person's point of view, he's just a crazy guy murdering people for no reason. Great.
And it's crazy because think about this scene too. I love the scene when he shows up at the hospital with Two-Face, and Two-Face is strapped down and he's ready to kill him. Two-Face wants to kill him because of what he did to Rachel Dawes, right? Yeah. And I like how he walks in the room. He walks in the room and goes, "Hi." Oh, so I was like, yeah. And he's all mad. He's trying to get out of his constraints to get him. And he goes, "You're mad at me." Well, let me just tell you what's going on. And he starts to explain to him about the dog chasing a black car, but you're just a dog. You're chasing. And he's like, "What the hell is he saying?" But it's making sense as he goes along. And then he takes the gun and he's like, "Okay, go ahead." And he leans into it and goes, "Yeah.
And then when they both look at that coin, and they both look at it and they both look at each other. Such a great.
Well, every time I watch that movie, I don't care for Batman at all in the movie. I'm always just watching him because just the presence that he has on the scene. Like when Batman has her, or when Joker has Rachel Dawes, right, and they're standing there next to the window, he says, "Let go of her." It's a poor choice of words.
Yeah,
and then he's just like,
so great.
The look on his face when he does that. So anyway, this would be my number one, and I think you could like villains. You should like villains because if it wasn't for the villain, the hero wouldn't mount as much. Yeah. I mean, think about the movies that have great heroes but sorry villains. You don't think much of the hero. What do you guys think of that?
More interesting characters,
100%.
A lot of the times,
yeah.
And we want to see and I agree. If a villain
like
isn't
a villain, people think of Dracula as a villain, but I think of him as a tragic character. He's like the Gary Oldman version of Dracula that Francis Ford Coppola did. I thought he was a great character. He just wanted to find his lost love.
Agreed. Like I was just saying this, like the most recent example I can think of poor villains, Captain Marvel. Like if your villain doesn't hold up, it doesn't. You don't
Malekith and Thor 2.
Exactly. You don't root for your hero to overcome the challenge. If their villain is nothing, they're just bullies. Granted, you obviously want to stop them from causing trouble, but I was like, Captain Marvel, I was like, she is steamrolled through every villain. I was like, this is not a challenge at all. This isn't interesting. And I think that's what it is. It's not a fair fight. You don't want to go to a boxing match and watch someone steamroll someone 200 pounds, 100 pounds lighter than them. That's not a fight. That's how I feel about it, and I agree that I want to see my villains with an advantage.
Yeah, one of my honorable mention was Clubber Lang from Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said,
come on, Creed.
It's absolutely him taking advantage of a hero who thought he has it all and just absolutely destroys him.
Yeah.
And it's real adversity. He's a real villain. He has nothing on his mind but victory over his opponent, and that's what makes a good villain. And of course, impetus, that clear, solid way forward.
That's right. Well, guys, you guys can let us know what your favorite villains are. Just go ahead and you can post. And by the way, where can they find you at, Carlos?
Film Samurai on Twitter. And, all this time I've been saying @Film Samurai on Facebook, but I forgot a long time ago I changed my name to Carlos Salinas because Facebook wouldn't let you use, Film Samurai. So it's just Carlos Salinas, but I'm sure there's probably 1 million Carlos Salinases on there. Yeah. But anyway, I'm on Facebook and Twitter. That's it.
But you, Mike?
Well, not on Facebook. I am on Twitter under Mike DJC and Instagram under Mike JC Art. And Facebook would be with Keith's Comics in Dallas. So, our Mockingbird.
Awesome. Okay, Zach?
You can find me here every Sunday here on DallasOnAir.com, except for the fifth Sunday, which of course is coming up. So basically, none of our shows have none of our Talk Nerdy to Me Sunday lineup has a show next week, but we'll be back in the first week in October. Things like the Rancor Pit, Figments, Isle of Toys, and of course the show coming up next, the Vortex of Doom, your laugh track to the apocalypse, right here on DallasOnAir.com.
All right, and Vegabomber, you can find me on YouTube under that same name. And this is where you can find another version of this. If you didn't get a chance to watch this live, it will be posted there, but you wouldn't see that because you're not watching it live. So there you go. But you can find me on Instagram, Vegabomber as well, Twitter, and I'm sure there's one more out there that I'm forgetting that I always forget because there's so many of these channels now. We will see you next time, October 13th. that's when we'll see you. Maybe the weather will be a little cooler and we'll have a little bit different garb. But once again, we want to thank Horror Mike for showing up today and being our first guest. And then people loving him so much that we brought him back for a second week in a row. So we're very thankful for that. But until then, until next week, until October 13th, keep watching movies, get the popcorn, sit down and enjoy it. And we're out.
Sayonara.
This is DallasOnAir.com.